My husband, who I do love and does love me, is a distant and private person to everyone. His mom was having health problems, and I didn't know until weeks later when I spoke to her. I asked him how she was doing later, and he said he didn't know. That's just how he deals with things. He doesn't want to get too personal with anyone. We share hobbies and can have good conversations as long as they are not too personal. It can be off-putting, but I do genuinely enjoy his company. Jump to this last week. I am pregnant and went into labor. It was only a few days before my due date, so nothing concerning. I tried to call his work, but his phone went right to voicemail because he was in a meeting. I texted him, still no answer. I waited a half hour, then tried again, and still couldn't get through. My labor was getting further along, so I called a friend to get a ride to the hospital. By the time my husband checked his phone at the end of the workday, I had already given birth to our daughter. Everything was very straightforward. No complications. We were ready to leave by the next morning. My husband is upset with me, though, saying I should have come by his work to tell him it was time. But he has always been distant about work. I know what department he works in, but not where his office is in the building. It would have been awkward. My husband has told me what I did was unforgivable. He hasn't called me an idiot, but has said I am a horrible person for denying him the joy of seeing our daughter born. Am I the idiot for not trying harder to contact him? I did text specifically that I was in labor. I left a voicemail to the same. I panicked a bit and didn't call his office because he likes to keep work and home separate, which means I don't know a lot about his work. And I was worried I would overshare to his coworkers by calling. And him not checking his phone? That is a part of his work-home split too. He doesn't deal with anything work-related at home, but also just puts his personal phone out of his mind at work. It is rare for me to get a response from him at all while he is at work on a normal day. When your wife is getting within 3 weeks of her due date, it is up to you to keep your phone on you at all times. This wasn't a surprise baby. He knew it was coming. And once you are within a week of the due date, it can really come at any time. The person carrying the baby already has enough to keep track of and do. The partner only really has to check their text messages. I can't imagine what his coworkers would have thought if his wife showed up in labor and was all, "My husband won't check his phone. I'm expected to go get him," and then proceeded to have a baby in the front lobby because she didn't take herself to a hospital. I promise you people would tell that story for years, and everyone at work would consider him an idiot of the highest order. OP also just sounds like she's always walking on eggshells around him, worrying about invading his privacy, when in fact, he's keeping her at arm's distance and withholding emotional intimacy. Sounds like OP's husband wants to use this incident to further blame everything on OP and manipulate her. My God, please rethink your relationship. You are not the idiot. What is his deal? He is emotionally distant and keeps his life private from his wife, but expects you, when you are in labor, to come by his work? LMAO. He messed up, and I bet he knows he did. His wife was due for labor any day now. He should have been continuously checking his phone throughout the day. He didn't check it till the end of the day? Come on now, that is unacceptable. Might be time for her to separate her private life from his. It doesn't sound like he plans to be an involved parent anyway. You are not wrong. Your husband sucks. Mama, I am scared for you. The fact that you felt like you couldn't try harder to reach him at his work because of his own weird privacy issues is worrying. That you were in labor but felt like you couldn't exhaust all avenues to get through to another human, to physically get your husband to the phone, concerns me so much. And I'm so angry on your behalf that he didn't check his phone at all for several hours while you were heavily pregnant. The fact that he missed the birth is his own fault. It is not your fault. You deserved better. If this isn't a huge wake-up call in his behavior, I'd strongly consider leaving him. I wish you the best as you recover with your little one. I, 37 female, am married to Kevin, 34. We have been together for 2 years and married for 5 months. I have a son, Jerome, who is nearly adult, and Kevin has a son, Kyle, who is a little kid. We just moved in all together 4 months ago. It was a complicated long-distance relationship. My problem is that Kyle is having issues getting used to us all living together. We have 50-50 custody, and Kyle's mom has 4 other children. Since Kyle is his dad's only child, and Kevin's parents are very involved and quite wealthy, he is used to getting a lot of attention, both emotionally and financially. Basically, he gets whatever he wants when he wants it. We were sitting down to dinner tonight. I had made pork chops, which was something that we have all eaten before, and everyone enjoyed it last time. But Kyle decided that he didn't want it. When his dad and I said that this was all that we were having, and I wasn't going to make something else, he became very upset and threw a temper tantrum. He picked up his plate of food and threw it. It ended up all over Jerome and his chair. I got Jerome up to go change and went to grab a mop to help clean up the mess. My husband said he would take care of it, and I walked out. When I got back into the room, the mess was still in the chair and on the floor. Kevin was eating his dinner, and Kyle had Jerome's plate and was eating off of it. I told my husband that I thought he was taking care of it, and he replied that I could just make Jerome another plate and he could sit in the living room. I was very upset at this point and needed to leave before I said or did something mean. So I took Jerome and we went out to a restaurant and had dinner there. When we got home, Kevin said it was an awful move because we had told Kyle that this is what we were having for dinner and there weren't any other choices. And then I took Jerome out to eat something else. He said that Kyle had been crying since we left and was inconsolable. Am I the idiot for taking my son out to eat by ourselves? Not the idiot. Kevin does not know how to deal with his kid. You need to have an honest conversation about Kyle's behavior, how unacceptable it is, and that Kevin has to put his foot down. Kevin's reaction to Kyle's tantrum is to give him someone else's and have Jerome eat alone? He's teaching Kyle that throwing a fit makes him get what he wants. Kevin's actions honestly make me think he doesn't care for Jerome. You need to have a serious conversation and turnaround, or Jerome's going to start hating his home and Kyle. You are not the idiot, the inconsolable child who threw a plate across the room. Kyle was mad he didn't get to go out, and Jerome did. That's all. The child will live to tantrum another day. OP, your partner is already placing Jerome under Kyle's thumb. Throwing his plate on Jerome wasn't an accident. Getting to eat Jerome's plate is the reward. This won't end well for Jerome. Take care of him. A golden child isn't going to want another child around. I'm sorry, you are not the idiot, but why did you marry this man before a trial run of living together with your kids? It's easier said than done, but your husband is wrong, and he is going to continue treating your son like that, and his son will be an entitled little brat. Sounds like OP needs to set some minimum standards for acceptable behavior for her husband, or cut her losses and get out. This doesn't sound healthy, or like he wants it to be. My husband, 30, and I, 30 female, like to make rules for our life. I find there is a lot of freedom in rules. I know I can do whatever I want inside a certain set of parameters, and there is no way my husband will have an issue with anything. Same goes for him. To be clear, I am more passive and he is the alpha in the relationship, but I prefer that in a partner. That was one of the qualities that attracted me to him. However, we both make rules for ourselves. Tonight we were having a Zoom double date for Valentine's Day. When my husband said, "New family rule, from now on, we will only buy Perrier water instead of San Pellegrino," I laughed and said, "Seconded." My sister said it was weird that we made rules, and it didn't seem like it was a healthy thing to do in a relationship, that it's controlling. What if I like San Pellegrino? I explained that we both have to agree in order for a new rule to be added. She just kept saying negative things about my relationship and how I need to be a strong, independent woman that doesn't need rules. I got upset. I like the rules, and she was making my husband out to be some controlling, crazy person that he isn't. I got so fed up with her badgering that I snapped and said, "Try staying married longer than a year before giving me marriage advice." She screamed in outrage and notified me that her daughter, my niece, was in the room doing her homework and heard me, that I disrespected her, and worse, did it in front of her daughter. I don't know. Am I the idiot? My sister was married twice, and both ended before 1 year. She is married now for a third time, and it hasn't reached a year yet. I didn't know my niece was there. It was supposed to be just a couple's dinner. My sister called me an idiot for disrespecting her, and worse, doing it in front of her daughter, that I always shame her for being divorced multiple times, and I'm not supporting her for doing the brave thing and leaving these bad men. You are not the idiot. Your sister doesn't know when to stop pushing her view. Disrespect flows both ways, and she had paddled a lot further up that river before you even started. Sure, maybe you could have been a little more tactful, but if your sister couldn't see you were getting fed up, that's on her. Why is it that people who are being disrespectful get so mad when you don't back down? Your sister had no problem disrespecting you and your marriage in front of her daughter, right? Why is it okay for her to talk rudely about your marriage, but not okay for you to give back what she's giving? I don't see anything wrong with it. You didn't ask for her critique. She wouldn't let it go, even after you said you were okay with it. It actually sounds like the playful type of thing many good marriages enjoy. So she's wrong, and you are not in this situation. That's not the point. You basically said in front of her husband that their marriage would soon fail, and that part you did know you were doing. It's made worse you also did it in front of her daughter. Ever think about how having a third father figure come into her life, and now you basically saying she can't keep this one around for much longer, may have made her feel? You did something incredibly nasty, way worse than what she said, because she said what she did out of concern. Even if misplaced and inaccurate, what you said was disrespectful, and knowingly so, and in front of her husband no less. You are the idiot. Let's begin with some backstory. I was planning on moving out into an apartment in February of 2020. Then the global issue hit, and I was no longer able to move out. One of the major quarantines was lifted, and we were able to go outside again. I still couldn't move out because my mother is severely immunocompromised. If she got infected, it would be a death sentence. So I was basically stuck at home, doing the majority of the housework and anything I could do to help. I typically do about 5 to 6 hours physical labor daily. Another thing you should know about me is that I am transgender and was in a closet until about 3 months ago. I was outed by my awful brother. For about 2 months, my parents were horrible. They would use slurs towards me and do their best to make me feel bad. After I went to my therapist for help and she talked to them, they were no longer mistreating me, but still very unsupportive. I use Reddit on my phone, and I'm on several LGBT meme subreddits, and I download any memes that make me laugh so I can send them to my friends. I keep my phone password protected, but haven't updated it in a while. This morning I woke up, reached for my phone, and it wasn't there. I left my room and asked my parents if they'd seen my phone. They said that they had it. When I asked them why, they said we were looking for any contraband. I asked them what they meant by contraband. They responded with anything that doesn't fit with our values, and that they'd found what I was hiding. I was starting to get angry, so I asked what they'd found. They told me, we found things of an unholy nature, unsuitable for the eyes of any of God's children. It was my memes. They started to chew me out for having content of an evil nature, and that there will be serious consequences. I was seriously ticked off. They had come into my room while I was sleeping, taken my phone, cracked the passcode, looked through my photos, messages, and everything else. 3 months of anger at how they treated me exploded. I started screaming about how they were unfit to be parents, how they'd made my life a nightmare for months, how I have trust issues and PTSD from how they'd treated me as a child, how they'd hurt me and broken me. I screamed for about 10 minutes, and when I was done, my mom started crying. She tried to explain herself, and I told her to shove her excuses up her butt. I think I might have gone too far, but I was so angry that I didn't care. You are not the idiot, and you need to go ahead and move out. I'm sorry that your parents aren't accepting of you for who you are. As a Christian, I believe we are all children of God, and He made you exactly the way you are, and you deserve to be loved for who you are. Separate yourself from this situation as soon as humanly possible, even if it means going to stay with friends until an apartment is ready. Big hugs to you. You are not wrong here. Don't let her crocodile tears salt your wounds. This is just the last straw in a string of attempts to break your spirit and hurt you. Move out as soon as you can, and keep on seeking out groups of people who will emotionally support you through this process. I don't know you, and I love you, and I support you. Also, change your password. You are not the idiot, but 5 to 6 hours physical labor daily? How messy is your house that this is a daily occurrence? Very, very messy. My father is basically a hoarder, and my mother is allergic to dust. That means dusting and vacuuming every day. She has rheumatoid arthritis. She can't lift anything over about 7 pounds. Currently, there's only my father, my nearly adult sister, and me in the house. My sister is busy with her senior year in high school, and my dad is busy with work. That leaves me to do the housework. My fiance, 41 female, and I, 28 male, have been together for 3 years. Yes, I know there's an age gap, and that's what the problem has been for my mom. The rest of my family was eventually cool with it once they got to know her. We're both very happy in our relationship, have lived together over a year, and 4 months ago, I proposed. Just a few weeks ago, we found out she's pregnant and couldn't be happier. I'm beyond excited about becoming a dad and starting a family with her, which is what we plan to do at some point after getting married. We decided to announce it a couple of days ago during a Zoom call with my family. It was my fiance and myself, my parents, my sister, my 2 aunts, and my brother. Everyone congratulated us when we told them, and my mom was the only one who was silent. I know she always had a problem with my relationship because of the age gap. No matter how many times I told her, I'm very happy, and she's the love of my life. She never actually said anything directly to my fiance, but she's aware my mom's not a fan. This time my mom practically blew up at her. My mom actually said, "How dare she trap me into this relationship?" As if we weren't already engaged. She just did this to make sure I had no choice but to stick around for the baby's sake. My dad tried to calm her down, but my mom was too upset and angry. My fiance looked really hurt, and I snapped at my mom. I said she has no right talking to my fiance like that and acting like it's on her that she got pregnant, as if I had no part in that. It got pretty heated, and the last thing I told her is I don't want to talk to her until she's ready to apologize and respect my fiance. Before anyone else said anything, I left the chat. My fiance was still really hurt, and it took some time for us both to calm down. Everyone else after that said I acted like an idiot, when it's obvious my mom was just blindsided by the news and wasn't thinking right. That what I should have done was talk to my mom instead of rudely ending the call and making it awkward for them. My mom is still mad and won't talk to me, and my family is taking her side here for the way I reacted. But whenever I point out how she reacted and treated my fiance, they tell me I should have been more understanding of her feelings. So I don't know. Was I an idiot? Not the idiot. Do not put up with flying monkeys, people who rush to defend your mom. Ignore them and tell them to stay out of it. Shock is not the excuse that will work here. I would not talk to her for a few days, then lay out the boundaries and consequences, then stick to them. I'm telling you now, if you don't, then it will only get worse. She will push in, heap more mistreatment on your fiance, will push in when the baby arrives. I don't think it's this situation. She is concerned for her son and needs more reassurance than yelling from him. If the roles were reversed, everyone would be looking out for the girl. It is generally strange for an older person to go for someone much younger, so I really can't blame the mom. Although she handled it poorly, she just seems to be concerned for him. Except he's 28. He's not some 18-year-old going out with a 34-year-old where he's never been an adult in an adult relationship and you have to worry about grooming. He's an adult in a long-term committed relationship that has adult experiences beforehand. You are not the idiot. There is absolutely no way you could be wrong in this. Blindsided or not, your mother had no right to talk that way to your fiance. She doesn't have to like it, but accusations of any kind are way over the line here. The biggest idiots here, in my opinion, are the rest of your family. They're seriously saying that you should have been more understanding of the feelings of a person who was anything but understanding about the feelings of you and your fiance?